And welcome to my live interview today. I'm Danielle Bernack from daniellebernack.com. Love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you. Today, interviewing a woman named Shayna Rattler. She's a woman who has learned the power of something she calls disruption. And she's going to share how this disruption led her to a greater destiny in her life. And now she is an author and she is a speaker. She is a prophetic minister and the founder of something called a God Shift. Can't wait for her to share that with you. She has been featured in over 450 different media outlets. So I'm going to bring her in here so you can meet her today. I'm so excited to have her today. Meet Shayna Rattler. Thank you, Shayna, for joining us today. I'm so excited about this interview for you to share this thing called disruption and help all of us to get to a better place in our life.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I would like to start with, why don't you tell us a little bit about who is Shayna Rattler? Where did you come from and who are you? What is your life like before you went through all this change? Let us meet you a little bit.
Absolutely. So I'm Shayna Rattler. I was actually born in a little small town in Illinois. It's called Jacksonville, Illinois. Most people only think of Jacksonville, Florida, but there really is a Jacksonville, Illinois. I was predominantly raised by my dad. And I think I have kind of a special, unique blend of masculine energy and femininity because I'm a very girly girl, but I was raised by my dad and always around my uncles. And so I've got some kind of masculine energy in me as well. Like I can change my own oil, I can do a lot of the things that I was forced to do. Even now, my dad's like, just get a wrench and fix it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But I was born in a small town in Illinois where there was not much to do other than dream. You pretty much knew that if you were going to do anything that was in your dreams, you were going to have to leave that town. And so I'm really grateful for that experience because it forced me to dream of a better life, and it equipped me with the hunger to want to go after something that was bigger and better than what I saw in front of me. And so I moved to the South when I was 21 years old. And so my family is from Mississippi. So I've always been a Southern girl, but I moved to the South. And, it's interesting because at a very early age, Danielle, I was blessed to be very successful. In my 20s, I built the very first house I ever owned, I built. And,
Wow.
I was blessed to make a lot of money as a therapist and I owned a staffing company. And I was really tricked to believe that everything that I put my hand to was going to be easy and lucrative. And as we, unfold more of this story, I will tell you, I will spoil the end. It did not happen that way. Everything was not easy and everything was not lucrative. But that's kind of the way that it started off is that, by 28 years old, I had the big house in the private community with the $65,000 car and the bags and, yeah. And so I was really led to believe that everything was just going to fall in my lap that easy and be, that lush and lucrative until I really got to a point in my life where my son and I were really forced to live an and lifestyle or an or lifestyle instead of an and lifestyle. And that's when I started to realize that everything that we do in our lives, even if we're doing what it is that we know we're supposed to do, it's not necessarily going to come with grace and ease.
Wow.
That's kind of how this journey started from child to adulthood.
Wow. And like you said, you had all these successful businesses, but then something happened that you didn't quite understand. I think you started touching on it because you had this expectation, but then something happened. What happened?
Absolutely. So in 2018, everything around me dried up. I At this particular time, I was teaching business owners how to land corporate sponsors. I had an agency where I was doing it for some high level people. And I also had a coaching company where I was teaching people if you want to learn how to land corporate sponsors, here's the blueprint. And by that time, I had become accustomed to speaking in different countries. By second quarter, I was already at six figures. And then everything that I touched turned to dirt. I guess I had the anti Midas touch because, the Midas touch is like, oh, everything I touched turned to gold. Well, no, everything I touched turned to dirt. People were hiring me for things I could not perform. things that I know that I do well and probably do in my sleep and talk about in my sleep, you would have thought that I was lying because I just absolutely could not perform. The money was drying up. It was actually prophesied to me in my church. The Lord said, you're going to write another book and it's going to reach millions. I spent $32,000 on that book launch and may have sold 32 books. But I was
Wow.
sitting there saying, what the hell is going on? Because what happens when everything that you've always done and it worked no longer does? I was the type of person that I would make a decision about what needed to be done. I would do the research to figure out how you did it. I did it and it worked in that order. And I was doing all the things, nothing was working. I was hiring all the people, nothing was working. I was investing in myself personally and professionally, and nothing was working. June and July of that year, I put my mortgage on a credit card.
Wow.
So what the hell is going on? Like, I find myself in a season where you mean to tell me at 28 years old, I'm able to produce that when I didn't know as much as I know now. And now with all the things that I know and all the people that I have on my team, I'm putting my mortgage on a credit card 2 months in a row.
Wow.
What's going on? But here's the thing, Danielle, I knew that God was up to something. I just had no idea what. I had no idea what. And it was on a Wednesday that I was sitting there going, I just feel like the Lord is up to something. I get to Bible study that night. My pastor comes out from the back. And prior to starting the regular routine, he goes, does anybody else feel like God is just up to something? At that moment, I just wanted to take my shoe off and throw it at him. I was like, yes, yes. And so I knew he was up to something. And I knew he was up to something big because I've always seen big things for myself. At that point in time, at the beginning, it was probably February or March of 2018, although I had this inkling that he was up to something, I had no idea what it was or how it was going to happen, but I knew something had to break. I knew
Yeah.
something had to
Yeah. Something had to break. I
break.
can feel that.
Something had to break.
So how did you deal with that during that time of all that turmoil? How did you emotionally deal with all that chaos?
Yeah. Well, let me just start by saying there were some days that I couldn't get out of the bed. I literally felt like I couldn't breathe. I would find myself like, okay, I'm going to take 3 days and I'm going to do absolutely nothing because in my nothingness, maybe I'll hear what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Right. Um, so there were some days that it was the end of the spectrum was I can't even get out of bed because I can't catch my breath. And then there were other days that I would just have to remind myself that the promises of the Lord are yes and amen. What I discovered during that period is that there's almost always a gap between promise and provision. The question is, what do we do in the middle? And so I just became very resolved and absolute about the fact that even though I don't know what it is that he's doing, because at this point I had no vision other than an inkling or a sensing or a knowing, but the vision did not come until a little bit later. But during that time, I just said to myself, I'm going to get up every day. Yes, there's no more time. I tell people now, you get 3 days. Jesus took 3 days to get up, so I'm going to give you 3 days. But on that third day, you're going to get up. Right? And so when I would find myself in those moments, I was like, you already had your 3 days. I couldn't get out of the bed. Now you're going to get up every day and you're going to declare the promises of the Lord. And that wasn't easy to do because I was declaring things that I saw with my spiritual eyes, but I couldn't yet see with my natural eyes.
Mhm.
But that I just forced myself to respond in that way, to just say, I'm just going to get up every day and I'm going to declare the promises of the Lord until something begins to break.
Wow. So what happened to help you understand it? How did you get this vision? How did it come? How did you go
Yeah.
from all that? What caused the transition?
So I was laying in the bed one Saturday morning and I got a text message from a friend of mine. She's like, is this something you would want to go to? And in my mind, I was like, oh Lord, what does she come up with now? She's one of those friends like, oh God, what does she come up with now? But it was an invitation to go to a spiritual retreat in Bali, Indonesia. And I
Wow.
had never heard of the young lady who was leading the retreat and taking, a group of women to Bali, Indonesia. But I started to look her up and I started to look at the things that it talked about for the retreat. And I said, I feel like right now, this is exactly what I need. And not because I thought the vision was going to become clear at that time. I just thought I'm at a place in my life where now would be a good time to steal away somewhere beautiful and let God do whatever it is that he does on a spiritual retreat. I'd never been on one before. So I was like, maybe this is a good thing to do. And so there were a couple of things that happened leading up to the retreat because we started paying on this retreat like 9 months prior to leaving, right? Like you don't just go to Indonesia next month. Well, I didn't have the funds to do that. Well, y'all might be able to go to Indonesia next month, but
Oh,
that
right, because you had put your mortgage on a
right,
credit card.
right. So I went
How long after that was this retreat for Bali?
So we were going to Bali in April of 2019. We started paying for Bali around August of 2018. I put my mortgage on my credit card June and July of
Yeah.
2018. But it was a very doable payment plan. But here's the point. Leading up to leaving, the lady who was taking us on the retreat did every month a one-on-one coaching with us. I don't know how she made any money doing that for free as part of the thing, but God gave me what I needed. The very first phone call that I had with her, she said, everything that you desire is on the other side of surrender.
Other side of what?
Surrender. And I'd heard surrender before. I believed in the notion of surrendering. But in that moment, I realized that I had no idea how to walk that out. That was one of the problems that I had with pastors and preachers. Don't tell me what to do and why I need to do it, and then don't tell me how to do it, right? Like you've got
Yes.
so jazzed up,
Yes.
like, yes. And then on Wednesday, I'm like, I don't even know how to walk out what they just talked about.
I love that. I'm going to pause here because that is such an important thing that I want to make sure no one misses. That happens so frequently. I've made issue with it before of you need to do this and this is why you need to do it, but I don't know how.
I don't know how.
We have to find out how. How did you find out how?
So I asked her, I said, what does that look like day to day? And so she said, well, here's the definition of surrender. She said, it's when you give up. And she goes, wait, before you go there, I don't mean quit. I don't mean you're not going to keep going, that you're going to give up on what it is that you want to do and what you want to have. But you have to give up and saying, you know what? I've done everything that it is that I need to do. So that caught my attention because I'd done everything that I knew to do and look where I'm at. And so she said, surrender is when you say to God, I give up and I'm going to let you have control. I give up and I'm going to ride shotgun and let you be in the driver's seat. And I would go off for a month and I would come back and I'm gonna be honest, I'm like, how do I surrender again? Because I don't feel like I'm surrendered. And she would remind me again, that's because you're still trying to be in control. You're still trying to do things based on your own thoughts and your own ways. You haven't surrendered. And so that went on for a little while. And it's now time for me to have an in-person meeting with her before we go to Bali. And she says something to me and she says, the reason why you're having such a hard time getting where you're going and even being able to conceive where you're going, it's because you keep ignoring the thought of the fact that you're a minister. Excuse me? I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I'm a speaker. I drink brown liquor and I like a lot of really nice cuss words. There's no way I'm being called to be a minister, right? And so she says, let me ask you a question. Do you feel like you've always struggled between Jesus Shayna and business Shayna? And I was like, yes, I've never really found a way to like bring the two together. I felt like they kind of got Jesus Shayna after they hired me because everywhere you go, there you are. But I've never really figured out a way. And she said, now it's time to give yourself permission to just be you. I kid you not, Danielle, when I left there, all of the indications that I was being called to ministry drop. I'm at dinner with my dad at the assisted living facility, and I'm like, I can't get anybody to. I'm an occupational therapist, and I do home health, right? So I'm like, I can't get anybody to answer the phone this week, and when they do answer, they're not available at the time that I need them to. And this little man that sits at the table with my dad goes, well, that's the life of a minister. And I just want to go, what the heck does me not being able to get people to answer the phone have a thing to do with being a minister? But that just goes to show that everywhere I turned after that in-person meeting, the indications that I was being called to ministry just kept dropping. And I kept coming up with all of the reasons why it couldn't be me. I wasn't raised in church, which means I didn't go to Sunday school, which means I don't know the stories. And if I don't know the stories, then how am I going to minister to anybody? And then an hour later, I listened to a sermon and he goes, some of you guys are discounting the fact that what God is calling you to do because you feel like you don't know the language. Like it just kept going on and on and on to the point that I could not ignore that the reason why God was using the things that he was using in my life was because I was being called to ministry. And he knows his kids. And had I continued to speak all over the place, if I had continued to make the money, if I had continued to just be able to produce the things that I've always produced, I would have never paid attention to the fact or yielded to the fact that I was being called to ministry. And that's what was happening in 2018. 2019, when we're in Bali, is when I really get the vision where it says, you're going to speak and teach in stadiums, you're going to work with celebrities and politicians, and you're going to have a television show. Clear as day. I could see it like a split screen. Just like you on the left side of my screen and me on the right side of my screen, I could see the split screen of the vision. Just had no idea how it was going to happen.
Another how.
Which is what keeps us tripped up. So many of us don't move forward because we don't know the how. But what I really want people to recognize, Danielle, is that the how is none of our business. The only thing the Lord needs is our yes. And when we become committed enough to say yes, the how shows up. But if you're going to stay stuck because you don't know the how, you're never going to be able to move forward. And it doesn't matter if you're just getting started in a thing or if you're a leader in a corporation. Everyone that I've ever coached in my career, the how is what keeps them stuck.
Yeah, it makes me think of the book, Who Not How. That was, I don't know if you've heard of that book before. It's people get stuck on the how and they try to do everything themselves when you need a who, someone who knows how to do what you need to do and they can do it way better than you.
And that who shows up when you are committed enough to say yes, not just interested, but committed. When you're committed, that's when the how shows up. That's when the who shows up. That's when the what shows up. All of those things will show up when we go beyond being interested and into being committed.
So what does the difference between those two look like? Can you draw a picture for us?
Absolutely. So
it's interesting that you use the interested versus committed. So please draw us a picture.
Absolutely. Interested is every time something comes up that's an obstacle, you quit. You come up with excuses. Oh, well, the financial aid didn't come in, so I guess it's not meant for me to go to college. We give up when it's not easy. We start a thing and then we stop a thing. It's very easy for us to get distracted from a thing and be on to the next squirrel, bright, shiny object, right? Committed is I keep going even when it doesn't feel good. Committed is I get up every day and take a step towards it, even when my steps are laced with uncertainty. Committed is I am not going to stop come hell or high water. I don't care if it's raining, I'm going. I don't care if it doesn't look like things are coming together. Every day I'm going to continue to put a piece of the puzzle down until it looks like the picture on the box. I'm interested in losing weight. But when you look at what I put in my mouth over the weekend and the fact that I haven't moved my body in 2 weeks, that means I'm interested in losing weight, but I'm not committed. I think everybody can relate to that one.
Yeah. Yes. That's a very good picture. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Well, you use the term disruption. Why do you use that term? You draw a picture of that term for us. Disruption is not something I don't use in my everyday language, although I did tell you before we started this interview that my previous week, my life and my whole family has been disrupted quite a bit. But why did you choose that word?
So disruption can affect any area of your life, physically, geographically, financially, spiritually. But to boil it down into a word, it's any disappointment, any delay, anything that distracts you from your destiny. Any unexpected circumstance that comes in your life is a disruption. Doesn't always have to be negative. Those are the times that I believe that we give the most energy and attention to. But any unexpected circumstance that comes in your life, it disrupts you. How many times a day does our phone ring about a warranty on a car that I haven't had? It's a disruption. It's distracting me from what it is that I'm doing. I use disruption because every single person can think of a current time, not a past time, but every single person can think of a situation that is in their life right now. I'm not going to say that it's being used because you may not identify that it's being used until we go deeper in this conversation. But every single person can think of an unexpected circumstance that they are currently experiencing in their life that is putting a wedge in their plans, putting a wedge in their desires, putting a wedge in their comfortability. We just need language to apply to it. We just need insight to apply to it. But I use the word disruption because it's a disruptor in and of itself, and it draws in attention. If I would have just said, hey, I'm here to help people with their unexpected circumstances, nobody would have paid attention to that. So I use a word to get your attention, just like the unexpected circumstances are being used in our life to get our attention. The Lord is so committed to his results in his life. So why does he use disruption? I think it's a good place for us to talk about that so we can see how it fit together in my life and how it can fit together in people's lives. Why does the Lord use unexpected circumstances and disruptions? It's because we're either pursuing the wrong path or putting our priorities in the wrong place, right? So whether that's in your physical life, in your relationships, in your mindset, anytime we're putting energy into something that is not on the path that he has planned for us, he's so committed to what it is that he has planned for us. He's going to do whatever it is that he has to do to shake up our lives. It's an invitation, inviting us into that next level of destiny that all of us have waiting for us. Whether things are going well in your life right now and you've accomplished everything you've set out to do, but you just feel like there's another level of success with your name on it, or you're in your what the hell is going on moment. There's a greater level of destiny that's waiting for you, but he has to use circumstances to get your attention, or you will continue to pursue the path that you've been pursuing. The question is, are you going to see what it is that he wants you to see? Are you going to learn what it is that he wants you to learn? And for many of us, are we going to go where it is that he needs us next? And that's where I was in my life. The Lord needed me somewhere different next. Next was necessary for my life. All of the skills and abilities that he had put in me that I had been using to build the marketplace, he wanted me to take those same skills, gifts, and abilities to help build the kingdom, because he knew 2020 was coming. He knew that our lives were going to be disrupted in a way that he's doing something different in the earth. He's doing something different to return the kingdom back to its original intention. And so he knew 2020 was coming, and he knew that we had the frequencies of many of our ears had been turned away from the traditional church, and he needed someone like myself that looked like I looked, that act like I act, that dresses like I dress, that speaks the way I speak, because he was tuning the frequency of people's ears to hear something new for where it is that we're going in the earth. Wow. But if he would have continued to allow my life to make the money, have the things, go the places, I wouldn't be where I am right now, telling people that they can get on the other side of disruption, telling people that another level of destiny is waiting for them. All they have to do is is to respond well to this God shift to get where it is that they're needed next. I wouldn't be here right now. I would still be talking about how to land corporate sponsors.
So that's a perfect segue to go into this whole A God shift. You founded this, and that covers many things. Tell us about your A God shift. You have a podcast, a TV, and how do you work with people? What do you do with them, and how does this work?
Well, I have to take a step back before I can take a step forward. So you remember I was in Bali and I said, you're going to preach in stadiums, you're going to have a television show, and you're going to use your gifts for celebrities and politicians. I've been a coach for so long that, let me tell you the grave mistake that I made, and I don't want people to make this mistake because it's so easy to make. I took that new vision and I filtered it through old perspective. What does that mean? I had been in the coaching industry for so long that I began to see every new opportunity and every new vision through that same lens. You could come to me and say, Shayna, my husband and I are going to start selling the most amazing organic candle line and skincare line that the world has ever seen. I'm like, and girl, you could create a coaching program teaching people how to use it and charge $3,500. I didn't know how to see anything through any other lens than that. So what I did was I took the vision that God gave me and I created a coaching program out of it. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, I know that he could probably do it like that, but it's not likely that by the time I get back to the States, I'm going to be on stages and I'm going to have a television show and celebrities and politicians are going to be beating down my door for me to teach them what to do, right? So what I said was, well, the Lord says in his word that he will bless what it is that he puts our hands to. So I created a coaching business out of it. So for the rest of 2019 and all of 2020, I was teaching people through a coaching business how to get on the other side of disruption. And nothing, I was not getting the traction that I felt like I deserved or desired. Because remember, I know how to grow a coaching business. I've been doing this since 2007. So I found myself at the end of 2020 going, well, I've helped some people and it was kind of good, but why does it still just feel too small? Why do I still feel like the anointing on my life is so much bigger than what it was that I've created? So I'm sitting at my desk, December of 2020, going, like any good business owner does, well, what needs to calibrate? Is it the messaging? Is it the audience? Is it the marketing? And I'm writing down new stuff and I'm balling it up and throwing it on everything I'm creating. I don't love it, right? So it's December the 29th and I send out an SOS to two of my best business buddies. And I say, are you guys available? I know we're all preparing for New Year's Eve and going into the new year, but can you all jump on a Zoom with me for about 30 minutes? I really need you. So we get on this Zoom that ends up being 2.5 hours. And I'm telling them, I haven't been getting traction. I know what the Lord showed me, but I still haven't been getting any traction. So I need y'all's help with my messaging or my audience, like something needs to shift, right? And so 2.5 hours into this Zoom, Doreen looks at me and goes, what did the Lord show you? Well, he showed me this and he showed me this and he showed me that. She said, well, then why are you not creating that? Yes, he will bless what you put your hands to, but you didn't even give him a version of the vision to bless. He told you stages, television shows, celebrities, and politicians, and you way over here. Yeah, you don't have to go rung by rung, but you're not even on the ladder. Like, create that. And so I was like, I need something that's like, I'm not looking for a tagline. I'm not looking for a program. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but I was looking for a movement. And so she said, well, what do you, and I said, well, I've always been saying, if you want to get on the other side of disruption, a God shift is required. She goes, that's it. That's movement worthy. That's your message, a God shift. And so within the next 3 days, I wrote this book, A God Shift, A Divine Move from Disruption to Destiny. It's kind of bright in here. In 3.5 weeks, I did what most people do in 9 months, and I created it and produced a television show. I rebranded the podcast. We used to be Faith First Leadership, and so I rebranded everything as a God Shift. And so beginning in January of 2021, I created a God shift. My definition of a God shift is anytime a disruption in your life collides with God's purpose and moves you into a greater destiny. And so that's what a God shift is, regardless if it's the book, the radio show, the podcast, the television show, anything that we create is going to be designed to help believers figure out how do you embrace disruption, what's in the middle, right? So here's the disruption, here's the destiny. I help you figure out how to successfully shift from the disruption into the destiny.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And excuse me, have you gotten the traction once you started doing what your friend said?
Getting the traction.
You what?
I am getting the traction. All of the traction has not come to pass. I was at a spiritual retreat over the weekend. I literally got off of an airplane, got in the bed, and got up and on your Zoom. So everything has not come completely to pass. It's getting closer. I know it's coming, but even some of the things have not happened because the Lord is calling me deeper. And we talked about that before. In order to go deeper, we first have to be stretched. And there are some things that I need to do to occupy until he comes that I have gotten away from. I haven't been studying as much. In October, I was told my promises are your promises are in my presence. So there's some things that I need to back up from and spend more time studying to show myself approved. Because some of the things that I'm going to have to say, I know it here, but I don't yet know it here.
Gotcha.
And so I have gotten some traction. There was a network that picked up an encore of the season of my television show. And my show was ranked 3rd on the network. My radio show is ranked 4th. on the network. So I am gaining some traction, but there are yet some things that the Lord requires of me before I really see the manifestation of some of the bigger things. And so it's time for me to take a step back from some of the things that I am doing, so that I can what do they say? Gird up your loins. There's some things that I need to do to more prepare myself for the bigger things to come. But I believe if I buckle down and do what it is that I need to do, I believe I will see the manifestation of it in 2022.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Just exciting. Well, you shared your one book. You had written other books also. Is that from your pre-God shift time or?
And it was definitely my pre-God shift time. So the very first book that I wrote was called Higher. It was a personal development book for entrepreneurs because I felt like there was a lot out there to teach entrepreneurs what to do, but not necessarily who to be. And if you're going to shift in any area of your life, the number one thing that we have to do is stop focusing so much on what we need to do and focus on who it is that we need to become. We're never going to be given anything that our shoulders can't carry. So in my current book, I talk about the fact that becoming is shedding your weaknesses and maximizing your strengths, or something to that effect. And so my very first book was Who Do You Need to Become as the Entrepreneur? What are the personal development principles that you need in order to actually have the business stuff come together? My second book was a business book as well. And I focused a lot on the magic happens around the edges. Like people can teach you about marketing and sales, but what are the things that happen around the edges that make people really want to do business with you? My third book was How to Win Corporate Sponsors. And then the fourth book, which is getting ready to be picked up by a publisher and expanded, and the subtitle will be changing, is A God Shift.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're going to change the title of it? Can you
Oh,
elaborate a little bit on that?
yes. So here's what you should know. If you desire to write a book and you desire to not self-publish it, just know that you're going to change a lot. You're probably going to change your title. You're going to change what you thought was going to be on the cover, and you're going to change a lot of the content. So the
Okay.
publishers are saying they want me to abandon the use of the word destiny. And not because this is not a destiny conversation, but what they're starting to notice in the marketplace that the word destiny is becoming overused and it's losing its impact, like the word success, like the word purpose. If I hear the word purpose again, I'll puke. And it's not that it's not a powerful word,
Yeah.
but it's being so overused and oftentimes misused that it's losing its power. And they feel that they're starting to see the same thing with destiny. And their job is to sell books. So the subtitle, the main title will remain A God Shift. I won't bend on that. But the subtitle will very likely be changing to. And here's the other thing the publisher said: nobody's sitting around talking about their destiny. Nobody's sitting around going, what am I going to do to get into my destiny? It's not the language that people are using. Mm-hmm. So here's a marketing tip for you business owners. You have to be using language that your ideal audience is using, not the language that you feel like they should be using or that they will identify with after they hire you. They can't hire you if you don't use the language that they're using. And so if people are not using the word destiny, I can't expect a lot of people to buy books if I'm talking about destiny in the title. So listen, I'm gonna be honest, whatever you want me to say, to cut that check, I'm gonna say it. Skiddle-a-rinky-dinky, I gotcha.
So what word would be used instead of destiny? Do you know yet?
We're not going to be looking for a synonym for the word destiny. We'll be describing a little bit more about what that is. So what people do think about is so that they can have more, be more, so that they can have more, do more, and be more. They do relate to that. So it's probably going to be more of a description of what they will get as a result of the book instead of like it'll be a way of describing it instead of just saying it, because they don't relate with what is just said, but they'll relate to the description of the result, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. Thank you so much. So how can people connect with you? This is so exciting, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people that are interested in what you have to offer. So how can people connect with you?
Absolutely, because we didn't get into a lot of how you shift. So I have a free gift called When God Says Shift, and it covers the 4 shifts that it recovers the 4 areas that you will have to shift in order to shift to where it is that you're going. So whether you're doing well in your life and you want another level of destiny, or whether you're in your what the hell is going on moment and you want another level of destiny, this free guide will teach you actually how to shift, because I don't want to be the person that I talked about earlier that tells you what and why and not how. So you can go to GodSaysShift.com and download that free guide. And it's going to tell you what 4 shifts are going to be required to get you into more, to get you into greater possibility, and to get you into a greater destiny. That's at godsayshift.com. And if you're on Instagram, I'm at a God Shift.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic, Shayna. Thank you for sharing with us today.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to spread this word. I really feel like this is the year that we should stop sitting on the sidelines, and we have to recognize that every day that we don't access the wisdom and information that is needed is a day delayed to answer the amazing life that's calling. And I believe that there's an amazing life that's calling to every single one of you who is listening. So don't let this be the time that you sit by on the sidelines and just continue to wish and wait, because waiting is not a strategy. Even though the book says those that wait upon the Lord, waiting is not passive. So even if you're in your what the hell is going on moment, spend this time to access the wisdom and information that is needed to get you from where you are to where it is that you know you want to be.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today, Shayna.
You're welcome. Have a good day, everybody.
Alrighty. Well, that was wonderful, wasn't it? I know I got a lot out of it, and I think I'm going to go over there and grab a copy of her When God Says Shift free gift that she has for you and me. So thank you for being with us today. And as you know, I'm Danielle Bernack from DanielleBernack.com. Love yourself from Survive to Thrive, that lady on the internet who loves you. Bye-bye.